Dust was flying everywhere, and there were only broken walls and ruins. The crowd was screaming and running in all directions. I was caught up in the middle of it, with zombies hot on my heels, getting closer as people ran out of steam. And that's when my consciousness was transferred into this body. The running body suddenly stopped. Who was a bit confused about the situation, entered this body. The zombies behind let out a rasping sound from their throats. They carried the smell of blood and the stench of rotting limbs. As they got closer, the smell grew stronger under my nose. Then a cheerful piece of music came to my ears, followed by an electronic voice. Dear host, hello. Your auxiliary system 520 is now online. Watch out behind you, host. Before it could finish the pleasantries, 520 shrieked in my head. I turned around, and a zombie with half its head blown off was just an arm's length away. I caught my breath, and then a gorgeous purple lightning bolt struck the head of the zombie in front of me. Not just the one in front of me, but the whole horde of zombies behind me all instantly fell to the ground, charred black. The smell of burning was unbearable. I wrinkled my nose and almost threw up. My feet involuntarily took a step back. I tripped over a stone and fell to the ground in a sorry state. The sound of a group of people's footsteps came from behind me. I turned to look. Leading the way was a man in camouflage with a crew cut. He had a muscular build and was carrying a long knife over 1 meter in length. My eyes lit up. It was Asher. Just as I was about to stand up and go over, I was blocked by a young guy behind him. He said in an unfriendly tone, "Hey, isn't this the fake young master who stole someone else's place? You look so pathetic. Could it be that the apocalypse has come, and you still haven't awakened your superpower?" Asher didn't even glance at me. The others behind him also looked at me with disdain, then turned their heads and followed his steps. Only the guy in front of me blocked my way and didn't move. "I'm giving you a word of advice. Things have changed. Don't hang around the boss. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die." The guy snorted, walked to the front, and following Asher's lead, he also drew his weapon and started fighting the zombies. I stood at the very back of the cleared, safe area, watching Asher's sharp and fierce knife work, mixed with purple lightning. In the blink of an eye, the zombies around him were instantly cleared. So amazing. I pretended to be scared and covered my head with my hands, while talking to the assistant system 520. 520 said, "Host, I'm so glad you're okay. I didn't expect that the random teleportation would send us to an apocalyptic world." I gently shook my head, looking at Asher not far away with an almost blatant gaze, not really caring. To be more specific, I was looking at his strong body under the camouflage uniform. Asher seemed to sense something. He glanced over with a dangerous look in his eyes. I quickly lowered my gaze, and then he turned his head and continued fighting. The background of this world is an apocalypse. Asher is a powerful superpower user in the apocalypse, while I'm one of the only 2 people without powers among 10 people, 8 of whom have powers in this apocalyptic world. With my bad luck-prone nature, it's already hard to survive in the apocalypse. Plus, I was a fake young master before the apocalypse, and the real young master is Asher. It's a very common setting where the hospital nanny switched the babies. I'm the nanny's son, and Asher is the real young master. The real young master was severely abused by the nanny and her husband, but he was gifted and excellent in both character and learning. Despite being hungry and poorly dressed, he grew to over 6 feet tall, and I, this fake young master, was spoiled by the wealthy couple, being a playboy and completely helpless. It makes me sigh. I'm really pathetic. After all these years of eating rice, I'm barely 1.8 meters tall. Before the apocalypse came, Asher was taken back to the old mansion. This fake young master provoked Asher quite a bit back then. Once, when only the 2 of us were at home, the original me stood condescendingly on the stairs and provoked him. "You've never lived in such a big house in the countryside, have you?" When he passed by me, I added another sentence. "Low-class person." The price of arrogance is getting grabbed by the throat and slammed hard against the wall. Asher leaned close to the original body's ear, his tone icy and menacing. "Then you'd better watch out. Don't end up in the hands of an inferior person." The original body was startled, took a step back with his foot, forgetting he was standing on the stairs, and tumbled down. Asher reached out to grab him but missed. Fortunately, there were only a few steps left, and he just sprained his ankle. Later, Later, when the Bolton couple came back, the original body, acting all teary-eyed and pitiful like a scheming person, filed a complaint. They checked the surveillance, but couldn't hear the conversation clearly. The position of the hands was blocked too, but it was obvious that Asher had reached out his hand when the original body fell. So, Mrs. Bolton, who doted on her close-knit son who had grown up with them, politely asked Asher to move out. After Asher moved out, the original body spread rumors about him everywhere, saying that he had grown up in a bad environment and had sold himself for money. And to men at that, it's easy to spread rumors, but hard to refute them. The feud between Asher and the original body grew deeper and deeper, and finally, the apocalypse came. Asher, living alone outside, was actually safer, while the original body, living in the villa, saw the maids, gardeners, and drivers all turn into zombies overnight. It was only with the care of the Bolton couple that he managed to survive. As for the crisis just now, after the three of them had been hiding in fear at home for over half a month, Asher, with his powerful superpowers, established a base and brought people back to the base while searching around. Originally, there was no interaction between them, but the original body, lazy and brainless, was provoked and ran out alone. 520 said worriedly, "Why is it another extremely difficult situation?" Host, our luck doesn't seem too good. Ahem, luck isn't that important. Don't you trust my abilities? I guarantee I can make Asher fall head over heels in love with me. In the distance, Asher finally finished clearing the zombies in this area and started walking towards me. Collect the crystal nuclei and take a break here. Seeing Asher approaching, I immediately imitated the original body, running over with tears on my face to grab Asher's arm, but he dodged. Asher, let's get back to the base quickly. It's so dangerous here. We can't go back. What? I was incredulous, and my voice suddenly turned shrill. The temper of the young master was about to burst out. Why not? I want to go back to the base. Asher, send me back quickly. The commanding tone made Asher frown, and then a sneer appeared on his lips. If you want to go back, then go by yourself. No one will stop you. As he spoke, the crystal cores in the zombies' heads were cleaned up. Someone shouted from afar to Asher, "Boss, it's all cleaned up. There's a safe house a few hundred meters away where we can rest." Asher turned around and left. I was sulking and didn't want to follow, but I looked around. The sky was getting darker and darker. There was a stinking smell all around, and the faint roars of zombies could be heard. In the end, with a long face, I trotted to catch up with Asher. Asher looked displeased, but still didn't have me driven away. I let out a sigh of relief. At night, the group of us rested in an intact villa. After sealing the doors and windows, we started to rest. Everyone got a pack of bread, and we put pots on to boil some instant noodles. After a whole day of being scared and running around, and with the smell of food, my stomach inevitably growled. I walked up to Asher and said stiffly, "I'm hungry." Asher was biting into his bread and didn't react at all. The person dividing the noodles and soup on the other side also didn't stop what they were doing when they saw Asher didn't respond. Seeing the noodles were running out, I got a bit anxious and reached out to pull Asher, but he grabbed my wrist so hard that tears welled up in my eyes instantly. It's the apocalypse now. No one will treat you like young Master Bolton anymore. Henry, you'd better keep thinking that way. Asher, I thought to myself. My face, covered in dirt, had 2 streaks of clean skin where my tears had run, making me look both pitiful and disheveled. But Mom and Dad clearly told you to take good care of me when we were at the base. You've got all your limbs and you're not a zombie. I've been good enough to you. He was biting into the soft bread, raising his eyebrows, and looking at me as if I were a joke. But I'm hungry. I want to eat noodles. The person distributing the food finally came to Asher's side and filled his bowl with a whole load of noodles and soup. The aroma wafted to my nose and my stomach growled even louder. He held the bowl with his big, well-defined, knuckled hand and started wolfing it down. After just 2 big mouthfuls, half of the bowl was gone. Fuming with anger, I blurted out, "What are you so cocky about? You only survived until now by sleeping with men." After I said that, I got a bit scared. Asher, instead of getting angry, laughed. He looked up at me and asked with a smile, "Want some noodles?" I blinked, not daring to say a word. He casually handed the bowl to someone next to him, stood up, grabbed my collar, and dragged me into a separate room. "You," what are you doing? When I was thrown by the window, my eyes were full of panic. There were gaps in the window, and through them, I could see the zombies walking around downstairs. Asher tugged at his collar and started unbuttoning his clothes. He took off his coat and then his shirt, revealing his well-muscled, strong upper body. Do you still think you're some young master? In the apocalypse, you have to be useful to get food. He walked closer and closer, forcefully lifted my head, and with his other big hand, roughly rubbed my face from side to side, revealing my fair skin. He lightly and flirtatiously brushed across my face and complimented. After raising you for so long, at least your face is still decent. My body was pressed hard against the window behind me. The unstrengthened window trembled and swayed precariously. The zombies downstairs heard the noise and let out roars. I was so scared that I hugged the man in front of me, afraid that he would let go and push me down. Asher, I'm scared. His eyes grew even darker. Then he forcefully kissed me. With the rickety, creaking window behind me, I tried to push him away, but was too scared and had to cling to him instead. I was so terrified that I screamed and cried, my throat going hoarse and my eyes swollen and red. I followed Asher, who looked completely relaxed and satiated, looking like I'd been mistreated. Sniffling, Asher handed me the swollen noodles. They're all swollen, I said in a hoarse voice, sounding wronged. If you don't eat this, there's nothing else to eat. In the end, I reluctantly made do and ate, but after taking a bite, I widened my eyes in surprise. I was so hungry for so long that anything seemed delicious. The others looked at each other when they saw our situation, a bit confused, and behind Asher, when he wasn't looking, I glared at him fiercely. Early the next morning, Asher was going to take some people out to get equipment. Someone needed to stay behind, and I was left here. Before distributing the food, I was taken indoors by Asher and kissed passionately. Asher gave me a small piece of bread from his rations. The others looked even more curious. Finally, after Asher led the others out, the guy who had taunted me yesterday came over. Andrew, Asher's #1 fan and a fire power ability user, was left behind to guard the place because Asher trusted him. He walked over with a piece of bread, looked me up and down, and finally said in a bad-tempered tone with a frown, "What did the boss do to you in the room?" I rolled my eyes. I didn't want to talk to him at first, but after wolfing down the bread in a few bites, I was still starving. Then an idea struck me, and I set my sights on the bread in his hand. "Give me the bread, and I'll tell you." Andrew's frown deepened, and he turned to leave, saying, "Forget it if you don't want to say." After taking 2 steps, he quickly came back and stuffed the bread into my hand. "Hurry up and say, or I'll beat you up." I took a bite of the bread, then tilted my head up to show him my red, kissed swollen lips. "See? Got it, huh?" "See what?" I sighed and pointed at my swollen lips with my hand. "Your boss is head over heels for me. This is from when he forced me to kiss him even though I didn't want to." Andrew's eyes widened. He stared at me in disbelief. A few of the other guys who were left behind had their ears perked up, eavesdropping, and they were dumbfounded when they heard this. "Our boss has a crush on you?" I took a leisurely bite of bread and asked him, "If you were the real young master and I treated you like this, what would you do in the apocalypse?" His eyes turned fierce and he gritted his teeth. "Push you into the zombie horde." I choked a bit, then cleared my throat. "So you tell me, if he hates me so much, he could have just left me yesterday. Why did he kiss me and give me food?" Andrew, that honest guy, frowned and thought for a long time. I totally confused him. "Why?" "Obviously, since he can't win my heart, he wants to force me to love him and possess my body." A chorus of gasps sounded all around. When Asher brought the men back in the evening, the ones who'd stayed behind looked at him strangely. Asher was puzzled, but no one dared to approach and say anything. I chuckled to myself. No one daring to speak was as good as Asher's tacit admission. "He's already kissed me. I've suffered enough. I can't just take it lying down." Before dinner, Asher dragged me into the room again. Andrew and the others peeked at the door. I went in with a long face. It was still by that rickety window. Since Asher lived in this room, for safety's sake, he should have reinforced it, but it was still the same as the day before. Then, Asher, who had to be highly vigilant outside and was basically extremely mentally exhausted, could only kiss me desperately. Overnight, the fact that Asher couldn't get what he wanted from me spread among all those who went out on the mission. Today's mission requires everyone to go. After getting the equipment at the hospital, we'll head straight back to the base. As we all know, the hospital is one of the places where it's hardest to clear out zombies in the apocalypse. But besides a large amount of necessary medicine, there are also some medical equipment. For the development of the base, Asher decided to give it a try. Asher carefully arranged the action plan, deciding to enter the hospital from the underground parking lot and clear it floor by floor from bottom to top. If we're lucky, when we clear to the first floor lobby, we can see the hospital's structure diagram, so that we can find all the necessary equipment in the shortest time. I was assigned to the underground parking lot, following Andrew and a few others to deal with the zombies that wandered over, making sure Asher and the others wouldn't be attacked by zombies when they came down. The underground parking lot was huge. After clearing part of the area near the entrance, to save time, Asher led the others upstairs. Some first and second level zombies were left, which were easy to deal with, so they were left to us. The operation went extremely smoothly. A few hours later, several people used a freight cart to pull down several large pieces of equipment. Everyone was a bit happy for a moment, but I always felt something was wrong when there was only the last cart of equipment left. After the elevator door opened, everyone was seriously moving the equipment. For a moment, the crowd was scattered and their vigilance dropped. As the weakest one in the crowd, I just felt my whole body stiffen, as if I was being targeted by something. A chill ran down my spine. When there was no one else except Asher and me at the stairway entrance, a high-level mutant zombie dropped from the sky, landing behind me and reaching for my head. I felt death was so close to me for the first time. Asher sent a bolt of lightning striking the top of the mutant zombie's head. The mutant zombie's body paused, then, without changing its target, continued to pounce towards me. The man clenched a long knife, held the blade horizontally in front of his chest to block the zombie's attack, and then quickly slashed at the zombie's neck, trying to cut its head off with one strike and kill it. But this mutated zombie seemed to have enhanced defenses. The blow not only failed to sever its head, but instead got the blade stuck in its neck. Asher didn't let go. Holding the hilt, he activated his superpower, and for a moment, the zombie shuddered violently along with the blade. "Go get Andrew to help me." I turned and ran a couple of steps, but then heard a muffled groan from Asher behind me. Another mutated zombie had attacked him quietly and left a wound on his shoulder. When Asher's gaze swept over, there was no fear or regret. His brows were just tightly furrowed as he shouted at me, "Run!" By the time Andrew and the others arrived, Asher had already killed the weaker zombie that had launched the sneak attack and was struggling with the defensive mutated zombie. With Andrew and the others joining in, the battle ended quickly. Looking at the bloody wound on Asher's shoulder, everyone fell silent for a moment. "You guys drive back to the base with the equipment. Leave one car for me. If I don't return to the base in 3 days, Andrew will be in charge from then on." Asher took a strip of cloth to bind the wound on his shoulder and made a final decision. Andrew's eyes were red-rimmed, and he said with difficulty, "Boss, come back to the base. Maybe they can develop a vaccine." Saying they could develop a vaccine, but everyone knew that, under the current conditions, it would be a stretch to develop it even before the zombies mutated, let alone before all humans mutated. The others were about to persuade him further, but Asher randomly picked a car that wasn't loaded with much, jumped in, and was about to leave. Just as he was about to drive off, I pulled open the passenger side door. I grabbed the bag that Asher had put in the previous car, sat in the passenger seat, and said calmly, "Let's go." Asher frowned and said firmly, "Get out." I turned a deaf ear and climbed onto the car window to shout at Andrew and the others, "When you get back to the base and see my parents, tell them I'll definitely bring their dear son back." Andrew and the others were all stunned. Asher reached out to pull me out of the car, but I gave him a bear hug, holding his strong arm against my chest. I looked up at him, my voice clear and decisive. "Asher, I know you won't believe me, but I want to tell you that no matter what I was like in your memory, just know that I came for you. If you die, we'll still meet somewhere else. If you live, we'll keep going on this journey. If you make me get out of the car now, I won't go back to the base. If you're okay with me, a guy with no powers, wandering around the streets, then let me out. Maybe I'll go ahead and wait for you over there." I laughed without a care, and finally Asher pursed his lips and started the car. 520. If a mental fragment dies in the game world, what kind of impact will it have? I was sitting in an empty house. Asher locked himself in a room, leaving only a small window. I could see him sitting on a chair, not moving for a long time. 520 said, lose common sense, have a drastic personality change, or lack learning ability. The worst case is becoming a fool. Do you have any way to deal with it? 520 replied, as an auxiliary system, I can give you a backdoor and an ability to heal. However, this ability can only be used on the boss. It won't work on others. Okay, after 520 transferred the ability, I frowned, using this body fluid method to cure the zombie virus. Finally, when I knocked on the window, the look in Asher's eyes that met mine was already a bit confused. There's no time left. I grabbed a stone and smashed the lock, then stepped inside. Asher could barely hold back his bloodlust, but still retained some human consciousness. Get out! Get the hell out of here! Asher's dignity as a human made him reluctant to become a man-eating monster, yet his legs involuntarily moved towards me. Henry, please get out. Instead of leaving, I walked closer to him, threw myself into his arms, and let him suck my blood. It hurt like hell. I passed out from blood loss. When I woke up, Asher's eyes had changed from cloudy to their normal black. Are you okay? When I got up, I pulled the wound on my neck. I gasped in pain and reached out to touch it. The wound had already been bandaged. Asher tensed his jaw, looked up at me, and said stiffly, "Why didn't you leave?" I tilted my head back and smiled at him. "I'm your savior now. You'd better watch your tone. I'm starving and I want something to eat." My tone was full of impolite command. Since Asher was okay, I naturally had to maintain my persona. The favor of saving one's life really worked. Asher didn't ask any more questions. He directly grabbed some firewood to boil water and made me a bowl of steaming instant noodles, adding a can of Spam to it. My eyes lit up. This was the only meat I'd seen in days. In the apocalypse, Spam is a great thing. I took a big bite. It was delicious. Then I looked at Asher's bowl. There was only a little bit of noodles and soup, and then there was a dry piece of bread that had been around for too long. I glanced at my bowl. Considering he was barely recovered from a serious illness, I took half of the Spam from my bowl and dropped it into his. "Eat up. I'm not stingy like some people. You don't have to sleep with me to get fed." Asher pressed his lips tightly together. I seriously suspected he was itching to punch me. On the way back to the base by car, Asher pulled over to the side of the road and said in a serious tone, The fact that you can break the virus must not be told to anyone." I was taken aback and turned to look at him. "I'll arrange for you to participate in and assist with the vaccine research. Don't be afraid. Other than me, no one else will know about your special ability. Developing a vaccine is my responsibility as a human and the leader of the base. But in this apocalypse, I don't dare to bet on people's hearts. You're extremely important right now, and I'll keep you safe." I blinked and hinted, "I can cooperate with the research, but the results might not be so good. Such as, it won't work on anyone except you." Asher's eyes fixed intently on me. Finally, he started the car, lost in thought. After driving cautiously for 2 consecutive days, we finally saw the gate of the base. Back at the base, everyone was elated to see Asher return alive. No one doubted his somewhat flawed explanation. At the entrance of the base, just as I was about to go inside, Asher grabbed my wrist and dragged me into a small room next to the base gate. "Take off your clothes." Asher stood by the wall, arms folded, speaking in an ordinary tone, and I was startled. "Are you out of your mind? Here? There are so many people outside the door. What if they hear us?" Asher raised his eyebrows slightly, his tone teasing. "Hear what? What do you think they'll hear? Your mind is full of those dirty things. You're asking me?" I was so flustered that my face turned red, and I loudly scolded him for having a filthy mind. Returning to the familiar base, Asher, who had been on high alert for several days outside, relaxed a bit. He approached me lazily, propping one hand on the wall beside my face. "After being bitten by me, you can even tell what's on my mind now." I bent down and slipped out from under Asher's arm, then ran to the door and pulled it open. Right outside the door were Asher's teammates. Andrew peeked inside and then asked me in a low voice, "Already done checking your wounds?" My face flushed. I was misinterpreted. "Yeah, there were a lot of affairs in the base. As the leader of the base, Asher was busy from dawn till dusk every day. Since we got back to the base, I hadn't seen him for almost 2 weeks. Although I made it clear that my blood might have no effect on anyone other than him, I was still arranged to have my blood drawn once a week for tests. I used to live with Bolton and his wife, but now I was arranged to live in a single room opposite Asher's. And there were also people specially assigned to take care of my meals. So much had changed. At a corner of the base, a handsome-looking man stopped me. "What's up?" I asked, a bit puzzled. I didn't know this guy at all, but he was looking at me with a mix of confusion and resentment, and there was disgust in his eyes. "Henry, stop pestering Asher. He's contributed so much to this base and he's so outstanding. You're not worthy of him. This is clearly one of Asher's devoted little fans and suitors. I was just bored, and here comes some entertainment right to my doorstep. My God! How could you think it's me pestering Asher?" I looked at him in disbelief, with 3 parts innocence, 4 parts shame, and 3 parts indignation in my eyes. "If it's not you pestering Asher, could it be him pestering you?" I widened my eyes, as if my secret had been exposed. I stumbled back half a step, and nodded with a sad and sorrowful look. You're so shameless. You can even tell such lies." Alas, Asher's feelings for me are complicated. You outsiders wouldn't understand. From the very beginning, his feelings for me were not pure. Then, after the apocalypse, I had no powers, and he became the leader when he founded the base. And then he forced himself on me. What could I do? I'm just an ordinary person without any strength. There are so many people in the base, so he could hold back a bit. But once we go on a mission, he would take me to a secluded place and, even last time when he thought he was injured by a zombie, he wanted to take me away. He said, "Even if I turn into a zombie, I'll bite you first, and then we'll be an ideal couple among the zombies." The more I made up the story, the smoother it flowed. Then, in the disbelieving eyes of the young man, a big hand grabbed me by the collar from behind. I turned my head to look, and right in front of me was Asher's face with a half-smile. "Ah, Asher." Looking to the side, Andrew, who had been getting quite close to me recently, seeing Asher's bad expression, spoke up to plead for me. "Boss, everyone can see your feelings for Henry. Stop being so secretive about it. If you like him, treat him right. Boss, you're always so fierce. You're really gonna scare him." "Yeah, last time when you were hurt by the zombies due to a misunderstanding, Henry risked his life to stay with you. He must have feelings for you too." Facing the grim-faced Asher, the teammates, who had fully believed the story of unrequited love, tried to persuade Asher one by one to be nicer to me. Asher laughed out of extreme anger. His fingertips rubbed repeatedly on the back of my neck, and his tone was both affectionate and terrifying. "Yeah, I really should treat him well." Right in front of everyone, I was carried over the shoulder of the tall man, head down. "Asher, I can explain." "Really? I'll explain it to them." "Don't do this." In the empty room, the warm sunlight streamed in, and tiny dust particles danced in the rays. As soon as we entered the door, Asher put me down, and I immediately ran to the other side of the table. The tall man folded his arms and watched me struggle. "I forced you, and I couldn't get you no matter how hard I tried? Bite you for the first time and be an ideal couple among the zombies with you?" The table's obstruction made me feel a bit more at ease. Although I blushed in embarrassment, my tone hardened. I was just kidding." They gave me the stink eye as soon as they saw me. Asher's eyes locked on me, and he approached me step by step. "So, this isn't the first time." I dodged his gaze, not daring to look at him. "Not only is it not the first time, it's not even the second or third." Seeing him approaching, I panicked in an instant. If we were to really fight, who could possibly beat him? I'm just a weakling with scrawny arms and legs. "Don't come any closer. I saved your life. You can't bite the hand that feeds you." Asher got annoyed after I led him around the table for 2 rounds. He raised his hand and flipped the solid wood table over. The table legs screeched harshly as they scraped across the floor. Seeing things taking a bad turn, I turned around and bolted, but he still managed to grab me. Why can't I bite the hand that feeds me? Who framed me for pushing him downstairs? Who spread rumors that I sleep with men? And now they're saying I'm pining after him. I was a bit panicked. After saving Asher last time, I thought those past things were over, but I didn't expect him to bring them up again. Didn't we agree last time that after I saved you, we'd be even? Asher crouched down, his voice right next to my ear. We were even. Then what are you holding me for? The things before I was saved are settled, but you spreading rumors that I'm pining after you and ruining my reputation, that's a new thing. Asher, I've wanted to do this since outside the base. Asher's voice was full of pent-up emotion. Scared. Even if I'm scared, I won't let go of you this time. Asher, you bastard. When I woke up, it was already the afternoon of the next day. I was wearing Asher's loose top and observing carefully. I dared to walk out cautiously only when I saw there was really no one in the corridor. I didn't see anyone on the way back and let out a sigh of relief. But unexpectedly, as soon as I turned the corner, I saw the guy who had threatened me yesterday. His eyes widened, and he looked me up and down in shock, sucking in a breath of cold air. Then, when I went to the base cafeteria for dinner that night, I heard all kinds of gossip. The leading man version. Asher is the real young master who was wrongly reported. After returning home, he was bullied by Henry, the fake young master. But time changes, and when the apocalypse came, the real talent emerged. With his charisma and personal abilities, he founded the base, the obsessive love and forced seizure version. After Asher's identity was switched, he endured all kinds of hardships and his personality became twisted. After being brought back home, in the face of the humiliation from the fake young master, Henry, he actually gradually developed a strong and special desire for him. He wanted to possess Henry and make sure Henry's eyes could only stay on him. After the apocalypse, Henry, who lost his abilities, became like a dependent flower, only able to rely on Asher to survive. Exciting. There's even my personal conspiracy theory version. Henry, an undercover agent sent by a foreign base, had no better way to steal the intelligence on the base's vaccine research and development than to seduce the base's top leader. Come on, have you been listening to too much Phoenix Legend? As the system's 520 shock. Is this the imagination of humans? The little AI has seen too little. I sighed inwardly. I found a nearby seat and sat down. A few people were still chatting animatedly about the gossip, and I listened with great interest. I even chimed in. Are there any other versions? The big brother who was telling the gossip said in a low voice, there's an even more exciting version. It's that everything was made up by Henry, and he was caught red-handed by Boss Asher. So the lie became reality. Seeing my jaw drop and food falling out of my mouth, the big brother patted me on the shoulder. This version is the most far-fetched. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. No, big brother, you don't know. The most far-fetched ones are often the truth. The progress of the base's vaccine has been sluggish, and the progress of wooing Asher has stalled here. Watching Asher risk his life again and again to search for the drugs and equipment for vaccine research in the zombie-occupied cities. There were countless dangerous situations, and the number of people taken and the number of people who came back were different every time. I knew this time was different from the previous attempts at wooing. In the past world, even if one left, it would only affect a few people. But now it's the apocalypse. If Asher, the leader of the human base, leaves, the world is doomed to perish. Even in a game, the world's destruction has nothing to do with the goal I'm supposed to achieve. But as a human, when faced with such a disaster, I just can't turn a blind eye. So, I pushed open Asher's door. Wanna save the world with me, Asher? The tall man was stunned for a moment, then wearily pinched the bridge of his nose and said, do you think I haven't tried? He took out a small tube of red blood from his pocket and placed it on the table. I've had the lab draw your blood once a week and told them to study it over and over. The results show nothing abnormal. It's just the blood of an ordinary person without awakened powers. With my excessive demands, they think I'm crazy now. Asher gave a bitter smile and said, I even carried a tube with me and used it on a brother who got bitten by a zombie. It didn't work at all. Henry, I walked up to him, put my arm around his neck, and blinked. Someone once told me, if you want to master the game rules, you first have to find its loopholes. If the loophole is in you, maybe there's a way. Asher's eyes lit up, and he seemed lost in thought. After getting all the base affairs in order, Asher drove out of the base with me. The well-maintained long knife blade slit a zombie's neck, and then Asher used the knife to cut through the flesh. The tip of the needle pierced into the blood vessel, and blood, a scarlet color mixed with golden specks, was drawn out and then injected into a sealed glass tube. Asher and I exchanged fairly clear-minded glances. It worked. Then the man controlled by the virus pinned me down on the floor. I was startled. I held down Asher's unruly head, put away the glass tube, and then looked at Asher's dazed eyes. The speed of his infection had accelerated. The last time it took 7 hours for him to lose consciousness after being infected, but now, it had only been a few dozen minutes. The virus had become stronger, and humans still hadn't found a solution. However, maybe there was a turning point now. 10 days later, we returned to the base with a suitcase full of blood. This was given to me by a former researcher. He said this was the original solution that might end the apocalypse. The base's researchers studied day and night, and finally, 6 months later, they developed the first-generation zombie virus vaccine. After testing, it was effective. If injected within 2 hours after being bitten by a zombie, there was a 40% chance of not being infected, and it had minor side effects and could be used repeatedly. Asher overruled the objections and sold the vaccine to all bases at an extremely low price in the apocalypse. All of a sudden, every person going out had one, which greatly reduced the risk of humans being infected and preserved the human population. 5 years later, the improved and enhanced 6th-generation zombie virus vaccine came out. One injection would form an antibody in the body, and people would no longer be infected by the zombie virus. In this year, the war between the end of the world zombies and humans finally ended with humanity's victory. Asher, you're the man who stands tallest in this apocalypse now. He and I stood at the highest point of the base, looking down at the celebrating crowd below. Seeing that he didn't say anything, I turned my head to look at him. May I ask, Mr. Asher, the Supreme Leader, what are you thinking about right now? I asked, making a fist and holding it in front of him with a teasing tone. The silent man grabbed my hand, and his gaze on me was very serious. You said you came for me, and that we'd meet again somewhere else. Is that true? You said you came for me, and that we'd meet again somewhere else. Is that true? His eyes were deep, his tone was plain, and only the strength of his fingertips could reveal his true emotions. It's true. I came for you, and I'll take you home. He exerted force with his hand, pulling me into his arms, and lowering his head. Will the me who hugs you and kisses you after we go back still be the me of now? His tone was bitter, and his emotions were complex. When I heard this, I kinda wanted to laugh. How could someone be jealous of themselves? I played with his fingertips, looking at him with a mischievous smile. It'll be you, but you might forget me. Seeing his brows knitted tightly, I reached out to smooth the wrinkles between his brows. So, you have to make sure you remember me. If you really forget, I won't come to hit on you a second time. I'll never forget you, Henry. I hope so. The night fireworks were gorgeous in the dark sky. In the 7th year of the apocalypse, humanity began a new chapter. The strategy has been completed. Extra return to reality. I stood outside Asher's holographic game pod, my fingertips touching his face. Just a few minutes ago, Asher was standing right in front of me, smiling and talking to me. In the blink of an eye, though, he lay here like a corpse. The huge emotional gap made me feel exhausted. You need to rest, Henry. Matthew reached out and patted me on the shoulder, his tone laced with concern. I shook my head. The longer we wait, the higher the chance of something going wrong, and the less safe it gets. I have to wake Asher up as soon as possible. Matthew sighed and didn't try to persuade me further. In the empty room, my fingertips touched the face in the mirror. The eyes reflected in the mirror were filled with deep fatigue and sadness. The holographic game was so similar to the real world that I got affected by emotions and couldn't tell the difference between reality and the game. This was helpful for rescuing Asher. After all, no one was more willing to save him wholeheartedly than his lover. But for a holographic game that I designed myself, it was undoubtedly a huge drawback. Besides fixing the bug that trapped people's consciousness, I also had to design a reminder button and set up obvious reminder points in the game world to distinguish between reality and the game, whether it's for the sake of love or as a game designer rescuing Asher. My boss, this is an urgent matter. I splashed cold water on my face to make myself more alert. Asher, welcome to my world. I walked over to the holographic game pod, opened it, and as I got inside, I heard the system prompt sound of 520. Welcome, host, to enter the holographic game, Second Life.